Welcome to part 2 of forecasting your organic traffic and ROI. Now, if you're watching this video, please make sure you go back and watch the first one, which gives you our Data Studio and Sheets template to help you forecast your organic traffic, because you're gonna need them if you really wanna accurately project the ROI from an SEO campaign. So with that being said, I found the closest thing that I have to a tweed jacket, because this feels like my high school math class because there's a lot of math in here. It's pretty dry. I've also got a really awesome template that automates all of this, but this video is going to help you understand the calculations and the math that goes into forecasting and projecting ROI, because it's important. But if you don't care, again, just click the link. You can go to our website, you can download the template, you can put in your inputs, and you're good to go. So with that being said, let's jump into the templates and see what we got. ROI is a very simple calculation. It's simply the revenue minus cost divided by the cost, and this gives you a percentage for the return on your capital invested into something versus how much you got back. So in regards to SEO, it's the total revenue generated from an organic campaign less the cost of that campaign divided by the cost of that campaign. And this will give you a percentage for the return on your capital invested into an SEO campaign. Now, I don't like to just use organic revenue total because it's a little bit subjective. You don't exactly know where it's coming from. I like to look at the delta, or the difference in organic revenue generated from my efforts on an SEO campaign. So that way it can show the prospect or show the client that the amount of capital they've invested into my services has generated this amount less the rest of the organic traffic on the website. And I'll show you that little nuance when we calculate this. Otherwise, the ROI is going to be really huge and just really not feasible as a calculation. So when it comes to inputting the ROI, what is the cost? So the cost of SEO is simply the retainer fee or the cost to an agency or vendor. It could be the cost of doing the SEO in-house. If you have in-house employees, you just factor in those salaries. Basically, your all-in cost to execute SEO, that's going to be your cost. For the purpose of this demonstration here, I'm going to set that to $5,000 a month or $6,000 yearly. That's kind of like your average mid-level SEO retainer. I'm just going to use that to standardize these projections as I go through and show you how to make these calculations. So how do we find the revenue? The revenue is simply the amount of sales generated from organic search marketing, and you can usually grab this from Google Analytics, assuming you're set up properly to track. If you're an e-commerce site or if you're a lead generation website, I'm going to show you that pretty complex calculation on how to figure it out. It's exciting. So that's the basic ROI calculation, but we need to find the projected ROI, right? So if I'm using this as a sales tool, we want to show people the amount of revenue that we could be generating, not the amount of revenue that they're currently generating. This is the ROI based on the amount of organic traffic we can drive relative to the investment made in our services. So as I mentioned, this is that slight little nuance with the delta. So the projected change in organic revenue, right? Not just the total organic revenue, the projected change in terms of how much we can drive or projected to drive divided by the cost minus the cost of our services. So I'm going to show you how to do this for two types of websites. The first being e-commerce. It's a little bit more standard because we can get sales a lot easier. The second being lead generation, which requires quite a bit of fancy footwork in terms of math to get these calculations properly. So as I mentioned, I do have these templates available for you guys. You can download them through the links below. They're free. They run in Google Sheets. All you need to do is give it some simple inputs. But like I said, I'm going to get my tweed jacket professor and my pipe on and show you how to make these calculations. I have flashbacks to my high school math class, which I did not do well in, but hope you appreciate it. So as I said, the ROI is going to be the projected change in organic revenue less 60,000, which is the cost of our services, divided by 60,000 with the cost of our services. So what we need to figure out here is the projected revenue. How do we figure that out? So what we need is the projected organic traffic times the conversion rate. After you have that done, you're going to times that by the AOV, the average order value, and you're going to less the current organic revenue from that. And I know that sounds like a mouthful, but let me show you how this breaks down. So the first thing we need to figure out here is projected organic traffic, and we can do that by finding the current organic traffic times the growth rate plus the current organic traffic amount. So let's look at this in detail because we need to figure out this input. The first thing we need to do is go into Google Analytics, the landing pages report. We're going to set a filter for organic traffic. We're going to set this for a year's worth of data. And then we can get the amount of sessions. These are the current organic sessions down here. So about 1.4 million over the last year for this e-commerce website. After we have that, what we need to do, and again, this is why I said you need to watch video 1 first, which is a traffic projection, because we need to get this figure. This is really important. I like to use this one here, figure number 2, the growth rate number 2. This is just looking at basically our average growth rate from the past, which is usually around 50%. I'll take this. This is our growth rate that we're going to apply to that traffic. So once we have those two inputs, we have the current organic traffic, which is 1.4 mil, times that by 44%, and then you add in the amount of current organic traffic. So what this is going to do, this is going to say take 44% of your current traffic and then add it to your current amount of organic traffic. And that's going to give us right over 2 million. So that's the next year's projected organic traffic from using our services. So after we have that amount, we can just plug that right in there to where it's bolded in purple, and we can keep moving on with the formula. So the next thing that we need to get here is the conversion rate, AOV, and the current organic revenue. These are pretty straightforward. Again, we're just going to go to a different report now. We're going to go to the e-commerce report. Again, make sure this is for an e-commerce website. We're going to keep it filtered for organic traffic, same date period for a year. Make sure it's the same yearly period as the one before. And then we can get what we need here. We can get the current organic revenue, the conversion rate, the total number of transactions, and the AOV, all from Google Analytics. So these are pretty straightforward. I know it seems complicated on paper, but a lot of this data is already readily available to you. You just need to plug them in. So the projected organic revenue is going to be that 2 million, the projected organic traffic, times the conversion rate, times the average order value, minus the current organic revenue. So the projected organic revenue is basically going to come to this almost 8 million minus the current amount. And we're going to get this number here. So the projected delta, the projected change is about $850,000. So what this $850,000 represents, this represents the amount of revenue that we believe we can drive from our services. So if you give us $60,000 for the next year of organic services, based on the amount of traffic that we're going to drive, based on your conversion rate, based on your current organic revenue, we believe we can generate an additional $850,000 in revenue. That's a lot of money. And if you think about when you're sending that to a pitch, that's very impactful. So once we have that figure, that in itself is very powerful. But now we can take this and plug this back into the traditional ROI equation, which is we take that 850K, we plug it into our ROI equation, and what we get is this 850K minus 60K divided by 60K, and we get an ROI here of about 966%. Now, I know that's a lot of math, but remember, I told you I have a template already built for you guys here. It's this Google Sheets template. All you got to do is input in here. Anything that is in white here, this is where the inputs are for under ecom. You're simply going to take these inputs that I just found. Just go back and watch the slide template in the video to get the inputs again. You put it in here, and what it's going to do is going to spit out this really awesome chart here that's already done for you. You don't need to touch anything in here. It's going to give them their current situation. I also went ahead and built in a break-even analysis here for you guys. I didn't talk about that. You can just use a simple equation. This just tells them how many orders are needed to break even on the cost of your services over the next year. This is the minimum amount of traffic based on their conversion rate needed to do so. And then this gives them the projections here. So the total organic, I like to give this all to them. It's not enough just to be like, hey, your ROI is going to be 900%. I like to show them the amount of traffic they can expect, the difference in that traffic, the amount of transactions they can expect, and the total amount of organic revenue. And then, of course, also the delta in that organic revenue, which is basically their profit based on the campaign, and then the total ROI. So that's for e-commerce. Now let's go back in and talk about lead gen, because this gets a little bit hairy and it's a lot more of a complicated process. So that was e-commerce. Let's go back in and talk about lead generation, because it requires a little bit more calculation to get those organic revenue numbers, because you're not tracking that in Google Analytics. So we've got to do a lot more math to get those numbers dug out. So looking at a lead generation website, the ROI equation is the same. We still need that projected organic revenue. And in order to get the projected organic revenue here, the delta in that, we have to do a little bit more math, like I said, because we can't just go into Google Analytics and get the past amount of sales. We need to calculate it, right? So in order to find the projected change in organic revenue, we need the projected organic traffic, easy, same equation as before, times conversion rate, we have that, times the lead value, which I'll show you how to calculate, times the average sale value, which I'll also show you how to calculate. So getting these inputs, projected organic traffic, you already know this one, current organic traffic times the growth rate, which we already have, plus the current amount of organic traffic, straightforward. We already showed you how to do that before. The lead value, this one's a little bit more complicated. So what we need to get here is the average sale value. If you're doing this for a client, you can just ask them for that. If not, I'll show you how to grab it. Times the conversion rate. In the current organic revenue, this one looks like a mouthful. So we need the current organic traffic times the conversion rate times the lead to customer percentage ratio. So what this is here is saying, if your website generates 100 leads a year, how many of those actually turn into paying customers? So if 10 out of 100 turn into paying customers, basically from your MQLs, your marketing qualified leads into customers, that's a 10% leads to customers rate. We need that rate to calculate the revenue here. And then times the average sale value. So the average sale value, again, I'm going to show you how I get this. I'm going to use my agency, Weber's, as the example here. So in order to get a lot of this data, we're going to go back to this landing page report. Going to filter for organic traffic, filter for a year, and then of course we can just grab the total amount of organic traffic from the sessions right there. And also as well too, you have to make sure that they're tracking goals properly. If not, this equation is kind of moot. And it's not just like newsletter goals. We want to make sure that we're grabbing the actual conversion point for a lead generation goal. So for me, on my website, that's people coming to the contact page and submitting a contact request form. Those are somebody who want to become a potential client that can have a consult with us. That's what this is here. That's why it says services, inquiry, contact page goals. So you can see very low conversion rate, only 32 over the last year from organic traffic. And then of course we can get the growth rate from the same exact place, straightforward. So it's very easy to get the projected organic traffic, same as before, just the current organic traffic, which was 160K times that, plus it again gives us a projected 230K visits organically for the next year projected based off our services. So after we have that 230K, that's the projected organic traffic, we can put that in here. This is just the conversion rate for our leads from Google Analytics. We just grab that, we can plug these both into here. Now we need to figure out the lead value. So this is the average sale value times the conversion rate. So for me, for my agency, our average client retainer, we'll call it 5K a month. That's 60K for a year. We do 12-month contracts. That's 60K. So our average sale value is 60K. So again, if you're doing this for a client, you're going to have to go and probably ask them what their average sale value is, assuming they want you to do this calculation for them. And you're just going to take that and you're going to times that by the conversion rate of the website. So what that gives me is a lead value of $12. So that means every lead that comes to my website organically is worth $12 to me. And again, that's just simply based on the conversion rate of the website times the overall sales value. So now that I have that lead value, we just need to calculate the final thing here, which is current organic revenue. So the current organic revenue is the current organic traffic times the conversion rate times that leads to customers percentage times that average sales value. So we have the current organic traffic, we have the conversion rate. Again, I said the leads to customers rate, so I say that every 2 out of 10 people, 20 out of 100 people that come to my website organically that submit a contact request form become a client. So depending on this number, it could be much higher, it could be much lower. It's going to determine what the current organic revenue is from organic search. And then we're just going to times that by the average sale value. So this here is projecting for my website, weberist.org, that we are generating $384,000 a year from organic search based on the amount of leads that we get, based on the conversion rate, based on the value of those leads. We can project or forecast or really guesstimate is probably the better word, the current organic revenue from search. Now again, this isn't very accurate. If you have a CRM, if you're tracking these things all the way through, just use that. But if you're not, which most clients aren't, or they're not going to give you access to the CRM, then you can do this math to figure out what these things should be. So now we have everything that we need to calculate the projected delta in organic revenue. So we've got our projected organic traffic times conversion rate times the lead value less the amount of revenue generated from organic search. That gives us a projected organic revenue of $553K. And then when we figure out the delta, when we less that amount from it, it gives us a delta of $169K. So this is the amount of revenue that I would project I would be able to generate this agency, weberist.org, based on my SEO services. So when we take this and we plug it back into our equation, we've got 169K, which is that delta in organic revenue, that profit that they would make basically from using our services, minus the cost of our services divided by the cost of our services gives us an ROI of 111%. And again, I've got this built out in templates for you guys. All you need to do is go through and put in the inputs. Anything here in light blue is a formula. Don't touch that because it'll just screw everything up. All you need to go through is input these cells here. And this is actually going to calculate the revenue from organic. So all those very difficult fancy footwork things that I just showed you, you don't need to worry about them. This will calculate it all for you. You just simply put in those inputs that you can get readily available from Google Analytics, or maybe asking the client for a few things. And then it will go through and it'll make these really cool projections for you. So it'll give you the break even. Again, all the same thing as the ecom one. And it's going to give you these projected values here. So that's all I got for this. Again, if you want this template, all you have to do is go to this blog post on our website. We're giving it away for free. It's a Google Sheets template. You can just put in these inputs and it will spit out your ROI, your break even, everything that you need to know to really walk into a pitch fully educated and really knock people's socks off. So again, make sure you go back and watch the first video, grab that traffic forecasting template. Then you can watch this video, grab the ROI forecasting template, and then you're good to go. You're now a beast of an SEO salesman. So if you like what you saw, please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next video.